Oh, yeah. Are we ready now? I've lost the picture, but anyway.
You can
Oh,
go right ahead. Yes.
well, right. Uh, I wanted today to do a variety of things. I wanted to be funny, I wanted to be whimsical, and I wanted to be serious. Um, and so I'm going to start with one, which is called "And Then She Walked Away," and it's difficult for me to read it because a really good friend of mine's turned it into a song, and I just hear his tune all the time, so it's difficult to read it as a poem. I went for a walk feeling happy, contented. Who did I meet but her? In a moment, in a nervous smile dawning of recognition, I am back returned 25 years. In an instant, we loved, deep love, complete, declared it, touched, caressed, and so much more. We knew each other intimately, physically, bonding deeply, and it was forever till she walked away. We said nothing now, well spoke words, platitudes, but they meant nothing. How could this be? We had talked into the night and past dawn about everything, including our future, together, forever. It was going to be undying love. Nothing would or could part us. We were special. I wanted to know why, but no deep words came before she walked away. I looked and I saw a ring on her wedding finger, something that she would not wear for me. She told me about her kids, the ones she would not have with me. I told her about my life, happy and full. And then she walked away again. And that's in my book, Awakening. Now, here's a very silly one. It's a conversation between a man and a woman, and I'm sure this conversation happens all over the earth. It certainly does in our house. And naturally, the man is the voice of sense. And it's called Husband and Wife Talking. Oh my God, our daughter's coming to stay and she's arriving today with her husband and kids. Oh my God, we have to clean. No, we don't. We have to clean and tidy away, fill the fridge, dairy free, lactose free, gluten free too, fill the cupboards as well. No, we don't. Oh, tidy everything on the table, change the lampshades, dust the well, everything. Put the dirty washing out of sight, only pure cotton sheets on every bed. No, we don't. Oh, put things in the shed, weed the flower bed, prune the hedge, and mow the lawn. Again, wash the kitchen floor, dust the TV, sweep the front path. It's clean. Oh, don't be a bore. We'll do it again. Hang blackout blinds, fill dishes with fresh fruit, bake a cake. We'll be fine. Vacuum all the floors, wash the kitchen cupboard doors. Should we paint the garden wall? They're coming to see us, not the house. Now I know who will win, so I'll just shut up and grin. And then she arrived, emptied the car, dumped the trammel for four, put the girls to bed, sat and relaxed, and then smiled and said, "Lovely to see you both." And she sighed. Why isn't the wine cold in the fridge? And I think that does happen the planet over. Um, and yeah, and all those things were said. Yeah, and the garden wall is vast. In lockdown, it took me 4 days. Um, and this is a very old one that I haven't done for ages because I knew people like Michael and Finn and lots of other people I know would be here. And I thought they've heard everything, you know. So I'm trying to make sure I'm sure this predate, I don't think I've done this for years, selfishness. It was an impulse buy to help follow a dream, glitter bubble bath, so she could go out on the scene, dance her cares away in a club, leave reality behind. Life could be fun, a dance. She loved her life, her husband and kids, but this could be her chance to be young and free again, just for once. Her husband came home from work tired and stressed, wanted a bath, a hot one, to soak his troubles away, saw the bubble bath, knew it was for her, but used it extravagantly, emptying it all in greedily. selfish, with no care. Now he was hirsute, as hairy as could be. He soaked and he sudded, felt relaxed and stress-free. He did not see the glitter. He did not know how it could cling. He thought she would not know he had used her bubble so freely, extravagantly, selfishly, meanly using her things. Maybe he could blame the kids. For the next 5 days, he glistened and sparkled as it clung to his hair, which, unfortunately for him, sprung out from everywhere. No matter how many times he showered or bathed, he could not rid himself of the glitter so fine. Now, I have not mentioned that he was a copper on the beat, and no longer were people laughing at his flat feet. And Copper is policeman, if you didn't know that. And it was a true story. I heard it on the radio. Some woman rang in and was telling him. I just thought it was so funny, so I liked it. Now another daft one, uh, although sometimes I do give one of these warnings because it's my struggles with a crocodile. A crocodile floating in the pool, grinning at me, baring its teeth. Don't worry, it's an airbag crocodile, so I decide to float gloriously, elegantly. Toasting in the sun, held the rail, mounted crocodile, let go its somersault and threw me off. Gigantic splash, grit teeth, go up steps, hold on and launch myself. Ah! In the water. Laughter all round the pool. Go, Richard, go, Richard, go, Richard, go. Third attempt a failure, but the bloody crocodile holds my leg. I had to struggle to get free. Head underwater, nearly drowned. More laughter, last attempt, determined launch, held on grimly for a nanosecond, then deep under the water. Small boy Eli, 4 years old, looks at me sadly with pity, reaches for the crocodile and smiles. Are you going to show me how it's done? Oh, yes, he said. Sat on the crocodile, easily, with confidence, launched it and stayed on for 15 minutes. So there you are. I attended a workshop with the brilliant Jim Hygo in Hull recently, and we were discussing metaphors and similes, and this came out of that workshop. It's called Differences. The beard was long, so long, white and grisly, hanging firm, and 6 inches down from the chin it separated and hung down in two parts, making the old man's visage seem long, so long, his face so old. He lay asleep on the grass bank, and a bird, a wren, landed. It pecked at the wiry hair, then discontented, flapped its wings and tried to fly away, but to its distress could not take off. Its tiny, taloned feet were caught in the mishmash of the hair. The rock was covered in seaweed, tangled and messy, many varieties, some long, some bulbous, all slippery, wet and slimy. Onto it crawled a crab, small and hungry, looking for nibbles to eat. It found some food and was happy. Eating contented him. He no longer had to hunt. He just let the water lap over his shell, and he rested, occasionally moving slowly. Then a wave lapped over, and he was covered with long weed that tangled and entrapped him. Neither could move, neither were free, neither had choice, neither were without fear. Endings can vary, they differ, and they are not fair. Perhaps it is fate, perhaps it is chance. These are two different stories with two different ends. The old man stirred, not yet awake, felt something instinctively attached to his beard. He brushed at it fiercely with his strong left hand. He crushed the tiny wren, who died in the second. The crabbit struggled and was getting weak, losing hope and about to give up when a wave came crashing and it swept it away, letting it float to freedom and to live another day. The predator itself. These tales of entrapment and such different ends, we never know the future and we never know our end. So do remember to enjoy every day, for something with the texture of that beard may enter your life, or you may find yourself with a metaphorical rock. Whichever is yours or mine, make sure your last moments count. And now we do come to the more serious stuff, which, thank you, Michael, I can see you waving there, needs trigger warnings. This is a sad death. She was alone at home as usual. She was drunk, very drunk, as usual, in another country, on another continent, away from her family. Her husband had left her, but returned to feed her, as she would only drink. He returned as usual, found the house broken into. She lay on the floor, head bleeding, unconscious. She had been hit hard, very hard, fallen, hit her head on the fire fender. Ambulance called. She remained alive for a few days, never conscious. Her family could not get there in time, South Africa being a long way away. Some called it murder. Some called it an accident during a break-in. The police did nothing much, it seemed. She was only 49, my sister. And then there's a mythical place called Fiddler's Green. It's where mariners go when they drown at sea, particularly if they've been long-term mariners. And it's been used in literature and poetry. And I'm in a challenge club, and the challenge was to write about it. The wind blew. The sea was no longer blue or green, but grey and black, dark as hell. The waves cracked over the ship. We fought, struggled, tried desperately to survive in vain. We capsized. I swam in the swirling madness, pulling me under. The ship went down. This was my end. I waited for my life to flash in front of me. It didn't. I drowned. A blackness, nothing, nothing at all, until I heard the music, a fiddler playing fast, a dancing jig. I felt joy and saw lightness. Fiddler's Green existed, and I was there. And another trigger warning, I'm afraid. This is, to me, a very important poem. I wrote it to try and show how most people, all people can have mental health issues, and I've had them. I've had various serious diagnosed illnesses, and this came out of one of them. And I felt I was going back to be ill, so I wrote in a cathartic way to get out of it. And it's called On the Edge. He climbed onto the ledge of the parapet, the one he had chosen so carefully beforehand. He moved slowly forward and stood on the edge, looked down so far, so very far, he could see people, tiny like ants. He would have to wait for quiet. He did not want to hurt people when he fell and landed. Felt battered, bruised, labelled, despised, bullied, ignored, isolated, lachrymose. He was not human, not really. No rights of his own. He had had hopes that had been crushed slowly, repeatedly, inexorably, personally and professionally, closing in on him till he could bear it no more. His stomach churned. He felt panic in his heart and gut and mind and soul, despair, and no wish to go on. So low, aware of the waste, yet he could not go on. No more pain, rejection. He was done. The time had come. And then he heard the sound of footsteps approach. Help was coming. Voices talking soft, reassuring words of encouragement. And so he jumped. And it was very important for me to write that, and extremely cathartic. I don't use repetition a lot in my poems because it doesn't work. It just, for me, it doesn't work. For all of you, you do magnificent poems with repetition. I don't. I read them and think, oh my goodness, this is boring. But I managed it on this one, dealing with it. I will deal with it, deal with it, deal with it. I will deal with it. All my life I've said this. I've said it out loud and in my head. I have felt it, hurt it. I've dealt with it. Lies and hate and derision, non-acceptance, slights and loss. I've dealt with it, dealt with it, dealt with it, dealt with it. I've dealt with it indeed. I've survived bereavement, unemployment, uncertainty, being let down. It made me strong. I am not a survivor. I am a thriver. I have dealt with it, dealt with it, dealt with it. I moved on. I have had liars, control freaks, and alcoholics in my life, and I dealt with it and moved on. Now I am older, not yet old. I wrote this about 10 years ago, and I still deal with it, and will always move right on. And then I come to my final piece, which is the one that David was so complimentary about, and I think he wants me to do it. So it's a true story, again with trigger warnings. And I came across this story when I was researching injustices at the time of George Floyd's murder. It's called George Stinney. In 1944, which seems so long ago, but it is within my sister's lifetime and just 8 years before I was born, in America, the land of the free, a 14-year-old black boy was executed for the murder of two little girls. He was placed in the electric chair, had to be seated on a large Bible, used as a booster seat. He was so small. The girls were battered to death. Their bodies were dumped in the ditch. The boy was George Stinney. He had spoken to them that day as they passed his house. He directed them to where they could pick certain flowers. That is all that was proven. He was arrested and taken from his parents, allowed no solicitor, even though the Sixth Amendment guarantees him one, allowed no visits from his family. They could not agree on the description of the murder weapon, and there was no blood found on George. At the trial, his counsel was a white politician campaigning for election in a town full of hatred where lynching was threatened. He cross-examined no one. George was alibied by his sisters, which they still swear is the truth. Yes, this is so close in time that some of the witnesses are still alive. The trial, just 81 days after the murders, lasted 1.5 hours. The all-white jury were out for 10 minutes. Not one black person allowed in. George was not allowed to see his parents until after his conviction in America, the land of the free. At the trial, they allowed discussion of rape and even necrophilia, even though post-mortems pronounced the girls to be virgins. The trial papers have disappeared, as has an alleged confession, one made by a 14-year-old boy deprived of contact with parents or counsel. They killed him with a too large hood that allowed the tears flowing to be seen. His dad was allowed to approach and speak to him just before he died, the only family contact he had had since his arrest. This was in 1944 in America. He was buried in an unmarked grave. 70 years later, the conviction was overturned for lack of evidence and for being tainted with racism. They never found the murder weapons. How could a child hide metal objects so thoroughly? He could not. A real murderer ran free while they murdered another child. This was in America. George died because he was black. If anyone can't comprehend why Black Lives Matters, why we need to take the knee, they should research George Stinney. No one says other lives do not matter. What they say is that in America in particular, there is good reason to fear your early death if you are black. And that should never have been and can no longer be. And that's my set. Thank you very much. Many of the poems are in my two books, Awakening and Iconic Tattoo. They are available from Stairwell Books or the Amazon Worldwide, Barnes and Noble, Goodreads, all these things. They're on everything, I think. So a lot of you have got them, I'm sure, if you want them. But I hope you have enjoyed and have tried to show a sort of variety that I write. I write from emotion. So I can't write. Somebody asked me to write about kung fu or something I have no interest in. I can't do it. But if something moves me, it can be joy or sorrow or irritation or whatever. But it has to move me anyway. I'll shut up now. Thank you.
We had a request for more from one of our audience members. So if you want to read one more, that would be great. It's only been
Well,
15 minutes.
all right. I tell you what. I'll read Awakening. Um, there's a poet that I'm sure most of you know who is stunning and wonderful called Genevieve Ray. And Genevieve has become a huge supporter and blown away that somebody so marvelous wants to read my work. And she's recorded Awakening. It's on YouTube, her version. And it's amazing that great poets, there's four of them now, taken on my work, and it's great to feel that my work lives outside me. Um, but there you go. So this is Awakening. The vast stone woke up from its sleep of 1,000,000 years. It felt deep inside itself, down to its inner core, deep into the earth, to the center of the planet. It looked outwards down the steep hillside at the world which had changed since it had last been awake. Then the planet had been verdant, fresh, pure. Creatures of all kinds had existed, giant lumbering beasts, small animals, birds, and insects, all surviving and leaving no imprint, no destruction, no sign of their lives. Now the stone, the spirit of the earth, viewed with dismay the destruction of the planet. Creatures on two legs walked, ran, existed. Behind them they left things, mess, litter, destruction. Translucent things were on the ground and in the oceans, things that looked as though they would be there for thousands of years. Violation of the planet everywhere, grasslands covered, forests destroyed, smoke, pollution, everywhere so unnatural. The stone felt it should fight back and knew how it could. It would raise a volcano, cause reaction the planet over, destroy these creatures, let the planet recover from them. But then it thought deep and went back to sleep, believing it could wake again in 1,000,000 years and the destructive two legs would be gone, forgotten, having destroyed themselves completely. And Genevieve reads it much better than me. It was amazing. I saw more things in it, with different intonations and phrasing. It was just stunning. But there you go.